Hello, my name is Pylon John, and welcome back to Montmaquis, here in Cities Skylines 2. And in this episode, we see a bit of a population boom, as I figure some stuff out, build a new school, a couple of new parks, and finally get to place a landmark that I've wanted for a while now. But first, I'm back to play around with some of the mods that I downloaded in the last episode, in particular, Yenyang's tree controller. And you can see how beautiful Yenyang's color variation set looks with these vivid yellows and reds. It really makes the fall colors pop. For comparison's sake, let's go back to the vanilla colors for just a moment. As you can see, the trees don't switch back to their vanilla colors immediately, but when you hover over them a little bit, you see them revert to their more subtle, more subdued, more brownish colors. So I think I'll turn Yenyang's color variation set back on. Playing around with the LegacyFlavour mod a little more, I visited its webpage on Thunderstore to find the toggle shortcuts. Trying the first one, Alt-Z, gave me this. It opened the GeForce Experience window, so. I then tried Alt-S, which toggles the sticky info mode whiteness, and Shift-W, which toggles the sticky info mode whiteness value override. I don't really understand the difference, but in any case, they seem to work. Another helpful shortcut is Alt-U, which toggles the unit's display. And I set it back to meters because it feels more realistic that way. And I know that one unit is supposed to be 8 meters, if I'm not mistaken. Setting mods aside for a moment, I go back to my production panel and see that we're still facing significant deficits in our grain and vegetable production despite our farms. So we might need to build more of those. There's some more fertile land here. Although I do realize it is late fall, so that might be affecting our production. And looking at the trees around the farms, especially the apple trees, I'm reconsidering Yenyang's color variation set. It just looks kind of cartoonish. I think I'd prefer to go back to the more subtle vanilla colors. Anyway, I will go ahead and place another vegetable farm on that additional fertile land, and then line it with some trees. So I go back to the line tool mod, but get this weird blinking, flickering thing when I try to place the trees as close together as I can. And these gaps, which I'll go back and fill in myself by hand. This is what Michelet on the South Shore looks like now. I went ahead and zoned for some more housing along the river. And as I look up, I see this. Our first tornado. I don't know, but I don't think it's animated particularly well. I don't know. What do you think of the look? Whatever. This ugly thing better not destroy our waste management facilities over here. And yeah, if you look at it from the wrong angle, it just kind of disappears. This area just happens to be where I was planning to put some suburbs and some farming, since residential, industrial, and food production are all things we need more of right now, but I think I'll need to put those plans on hold. Our vegetable production has gone up from 31.1 tons per month to 42.4 since building the new farm. It's a bit of an increase, but not enough. One of the most interesting additions to Cities Skylines 2, a feature that I don't think has been talked about nearly enough, is the introduction of homelessness. And we have some unhoused people living in our largest park here because of the housing shortage, and personally, I just don't think that's acceptable. Strangely, it's at this point that we hit milestone 9, Great Town. All right, I guess I'll take it. Our progression panel shows that we now have high density business zoning. At the next milestone, milestone 10, we unlock the last available new features, at least the last ones that can be unlocked through milestones alone and not through the development points. Turning back to our housing crisis, we can see not only that we have a huge demand for all kinds of residential, but that our unemployment rate is basically 0, meaning we've got more people than jobs available. So I turn back to my plan of building a suburb along the south side of the river here and farming just to the north of it, just as the tornado finally goes away. But before turning to the drastic measure of building a suburb, I decide to try addressing the housing crisis by upzoning some more of the old town from row houses to medium density apartment buildings. Although in real life, housing crises aren't really caused so much by housing shortages as they are by the wealthy making housing unaffordable or unavailable for everybody else. Kind of like what we saw in the last episode with the low rent towers. Anyway, the hook UI icon in the top left corner of the screen is now functional. I suppose because I'm now trying it with the game on play and not on pause. That seems to be what makes the difference. And I can finally access the CityMonitor and the settings for the ExtendedTooltip mod. And like I said, it's a great mod. I just want to change the display mode from instant to delayed, so all that information isn't popping up all the time. Yep, on pause, the hook UI icon on the top left is not working, but on play, it is. Now I want to look at the settings for the LegacyFlavour mod, and the first thing I see is this error message. Is my game broken? I think I'll continue. Yeah, okay. So here we see the use sticky whiteness, Alt S, and the whiteness toggle, Shift W. I'm still not sure what these mean, but the hotkeys work, so I'm happy with it. With the Zone Settings tab, we have the opportunity to fine-tune nearly everything about the appearance of the zoning, including choosing custom zone colors. Under the Zone Colors tab, we have various color blindness modes, which is a great accessibility feature and really should be included in the base game. Now I'll adjust the settings in the CityMonitor mod to make it look a little less cluttered. And it's thanks to this mod that I realized that my elementary school availability is low. I couldn't understand why my school wasn't filling up, but it's because my budget is only at 80%, but it's not 80% full. Anyway, I increased the budget. Now the efficiency is 113%. And we're up to, 749 students. 798. The high school's still far from full because of the bottleneck at the elementary school. But looking at the happiness ratings at the bottom right of the screen, we can see that walking distance to elementary school is now a positive +2 instead of a negative. I guess students had to head out of town before? With our first elementary school filling up, I start making plans for a second, but first, maybe we can try an upgrade. Maybe some extension wings. It actually took me several takes to say that right. Turning back to our housing crisis, I decide to put in some low-rent buildings along the boulevard near the high school. I also zone for some mixed-use buildings, especially on the corners, since their surfaces extend to take up the whole corner. I just hope they don't grow too tall for the area. What I have in mind is a gradual transition in the heights of the buildings from the mid-density of the old town to the higher density on the other side of the incoming highway. I imagine all of this to have once been one neighborhood that was divided by the highway. With a strong demand for medium density residential, I decided that now would be a good time to start upzoning along Chemin de la Résistance to mixed use, to make it look a little more like what we saw in Grenoble. I'm trying to get this to be one building, but I don't think buildings of that size actually exist in the game. here, I get rid of one 5x3 building in favor of two 3x2 buildings to make better use of this space. And here's what Chemin de la Résistance looks like now. I think that looks much better. Traffic's starting to build up, but it's probably just temporary from all the people moving in, after all the upzoning I did. Ugh, changing the zoning made the bus stops disappear. This is probably one of the most annoying of the many bugs still in the game. I gotta go and put it back. I think traffic has picked up enough to warrant putting in a roundabout here where Avenue Commerciale crosses the incoming highway. This will be temporary. I'll probably elevate this highway eventually, but this one looks about the right size for now. Notre Dame Elementary School is almost completely full, even with the extension wing, so I think it's time to put in a second elementary school over here on the other side of the Notre Dame district. First, we'll have to clear out a fairly sizable chunk of what would be a pretty historic area. With the elementary school placed, I now go to add upgrades. And just like the other side, there isn't enough room for a child health center, but we have to put a playground. It's just a question of where's the best spot for it. As I use dev mode to do some detailing, I realize that some of the row houses look a little different, and yeah, they have in fact leveled up. This is now level 3. You can compare it to the level 1 house next door. I've extended the surfaces of the school, and I'm now going to add some more light poles. I found the one originally used for the school, but I forgot that the colors of these props are randomized. So I'll come back in a little bit and replace the ones that aren't the right color. Here is our completed school. I'll call it Au-Jura Elementary School, after the nearby street that was almost entirely demolished to make room to build it. Montmaquis now finds itself in an interesting situation. We still have high demand for residential, both low and medium density, but we also have high unemployment now. We've gone from basically 0 unemployment to 15%. So the priority now clearly needs to be industrial zoning, which there is also substantial demand for. Another problem is that our water and sewage availability are both on the verge of running out. So our water and sewage budget is at 100%, but efficiency is only at 91% because of the low water depth. So low water depth, does that mean we need to make it deeper? Or it's too deep already? How would that be a problem? Whatever, let's upgrade it with an extra pump just to make sure we have enough capacity. And now the water pumping station has water damage. Okay, so I guess we shouldn't have made it deeper? Let's try raising the land back up now and see if that's what it wants. And yeah, I think that's what it wants. Efficiency is now at 110%, and the water availability, according to the CityMonitor, is now solid. Now let's go over to the other side of the district and take a look at sewage. And somehow it doesn't occur to me that decreasing the amount of sewage expelled might actually be better than increasing capacity. We could use some of the many development points we've saved up to unlock the wastewater treatment plant, or just add another sewage outlet. And after unlocking the treatment plant, I decide to go with the sewage outlet after all. It's way cheaper. And here comes the poo water. Yum. And here's another bear. Hi bear, where are you going? Oh, you're actually headed right into traffic. That seems like a bad idea. Oh, the police, 2 police cars hit the bear. Is that one going to turn around and come back and check on it? And the bear seems fine, though. A few other cars have hit it, too. Yeah, it's fine. And there's another bear. But let's keep following this one as it walks through apartment buildings. Wow, that must be pretty scary for the people living inside. No, honey, it's just a bear watching us through the window. Okay, so check this out. The bear walks into a building, and then this truck carrying wood follows the bear into the building and delivers wood. Imagine living in Montmaquis and just be out walking your dog and just run into bears, like, whatever, no big deal. It looks like it's going for a walk on our waterfront promenade. No, it's going for a swim in the river. Are you okay in there, bear? Bears can swim, right? Okay, I think it's on its way back. And yeah, we're back. Okay, this has been fun. I think it's time to say goodbye to our bear, but first, let's name it in case we ever run into it again. You are now the Magic Bear. Godspeed, Magic Bear. You know, our old town should have more parks, or maybe like public squares. I'll start by clearing this block on the west side of the district. There's enough room here for 3 small parks, so that's what I do at first, but it does look a little repetitive, so I decide that it would look better with just one, and some custom detailing around it. Again, I'm using dev mode to extend these surfaces, and then I add some paths and trees. Maybe too many trees for what is meant to be a old European style public square. I'll delete a few of them later. Back to dev mode to find some trash bins and benches that match those in the park. And voila, the finished product. I love it. I'll name it Place Bir Hakim, after one of the adjoining streets. Over to the east side of the district for another one, I placed this small plaza, but it's fenced off. Not the look I'm going for. So I'll just place another small park here. And then add some of my own detailing around it. There isn't quite enough room for more paths, so I'll leave it at that. Before we wrap up this episode, there is one last thing I need to do. Something I've wanted to do for a while now and finally have the budget for. First, we need to clear this block and then go into landmarks and find the Notre Dame Cathedral. Here it is. I'll very carefully place it here at the corner of Boulevard des Martyrs and Rue de la Cathédrale, which is finally worthy of the name. And wow, that's impressive. Look at that. We still have some more work to do though. First, going back into dev mode to extend these surfaces all the way to the edge. I then add some paths on the north side, but this one that I tried to draw to the entrance looks pretty wonky. Now it's time to add some bushes and trees. The line tool mod is still giving me this weird flickering when I try to place the bushes as close together as I can, and leaving gaps which I go in and fill in by hand afterwards. which I don't mind actually. It allows me to give the rows of bushes and trees a slightly less ordered and more natural feel. Spacing and offset variations have been added to the mod, but still I prefer to do it by hand. Eventually, I figure out that the flickering and flashing that happens when I use the line tool is probably caused by me trying to place them too close together and needing to increase the spacing. Once I figure out how to use the line tool properly, I still go back in afterwards and remove a few of the trees or bushes and place them in by hand for that more natural look. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, do a little more detailing off camera, and show you the final product in the cinematics at the end. I want to thank you once again for watching. If you've watched up to this point and you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider helping out the channel, like, subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Pylon John. Until next time, free Palestine.